I know last year was a strange season for all teams for obvious reasons. I don't need to get into the whole pandemic thing. Oregon might have been the most disappointing conference champion, at least during the playoff era, to me anyway. But we're going to talk about that a little bit in today's video when we take a look at the Oregon Ducks 2021 football schedule. Let's go. Hey guys, before we start the video, I don't do this very often, but I'm going to do it today. I want you guys to do me a favor. I'm going to have a link in the description of this video, and if I can remember, I'll even leave a comment and pin the comment with the link to a YouTube channel, D4 Sports. Now, a lot of you watch these videos that I do, and the first thing you say is, well, this guy's a Georgia fan. Of course, that's what he said. The Georgia fan. Well, if you feel that way, go ahead and check out D4 Sports, a Texas fan. That's right. He's a Texas Longhorns fan. But like me, D4 Sports talks about all of college football. And he's been putting in a lot of hard work lately over on his channel. He just started it a couple of months ago. He's already up to almost 1,000 subscribers, which is a very key mark in YouTube land. You need 1,000 subscribers to get monetized here on YouTube. Let's put him over the top. I'm going to mention this in a bunch of these scheduled videos I do from now on. But this guy, he does some live streams, but he uploads videos too. And, I know the work it takes. After watching the videos that I've seen over on his channel over the last couple of weeks, I know the work it takes to put those videos together. If you're a diehard college football fan and you're always looking for more college football on YouTube, check out D4 Sports. The link will be in the description and the pinned comment if I can remember. Click on it, check it out. If you like what you see, give it a subscription. Leave him a comment that says, Uncle Lou says good morning. Yeah, good morning in that, but it's Uncle Lou here, though. Yeah, that's right. It's me, Uncle Lou, and I'm live for you on LouTube today. Hey, thanks for watching. Really appreciate it also, and in addition to that as well, subscribe to this channel if you're not already. Did you know I post college football videos almost every single day of the year? It's true. Some of them are even watchable. Oregon's in the Pac-12. I know how a lot of people feel about the Pac-12, so I don't know how this one's going to do. We're going to give it a shot anyway. I mentioned at the top of the video how disappointing Oregon was, at least to me, last year. We're going to take a brief look at what they did last year so we have something to compare their schedule to for this year. Now, it's hard to compare schedules from 20 to 21. Normally schedules are basically the same from year to year. 12 total games in the regular season, 8 or 9 conference games, 3 or 4 non-con games, and it's easier to compare and contrast. Not the case this year, but I do want to put Oregon's 2020 schedule and record up on the screen. Here it is. Now, they started off 3-0, which is great, but if you watched those 3 games, which I did because I was so high on Oregon last year, and maybe that's one of the reasons I feel so let down or disappointed in it, but I was really, really high on Oregon last year. I think what Mario Cristobal is doing out there through recruiting is really unbelievable. When you think about Oregon and how hard it is to get players in state, and the fact that they typically have to go out of state if they wanted to get any highly ranked 4 or 5-star players, it's just been unbelievable the amount of talent he's been able to get there. You beat Stanford 35-14, but if you watched that game, it wasn't very impressive by Oregon. It just wasn't. Same thing at Washington State, where you won 43-29. UCLA, you barely beat 38-35. I mean, they were a little bit better, I guess, maybe than what some people thought, but they were not a great team. And then the wheels fall off. You lose to in-state rival Oregon State on the road, 41-38, and then lose at Cal 21-17. And of course, you didn't even win your division, right? You were supposed to play Washington the following week in the final game of the regular season. They had to back out, not you, so it wasn't your fault. They had to back out because of some COVID issues. Therefore, you were given the spot in the Pac-12 title game. You did not earn it. It was given to you. Washington had a better record. It was given to you. To your credit, you did win it against Southern Cal 31-24, and then, of course, went on to lose in the Fiesta Bowl to Iowa State in a real beatdown, 34-17. It's not necessarily the record that Oregon had that I'm disappointed in. It's obviously not the fact that they won the Pac-12 that disappoints me. The Fiesta Bowl performance was disappointing. It was just the way Oregon looked overall from the beginning of the season to the year. They looked unorganized. They did not look dominant even in those early season wins. They should have absolutely blown Stanford, Washington State, UCLA, Oregon State, and Cal away. Those games should have been over at halftime. Washington maybe should have been the only team on this schedule that gave you any type of game at all. Of course, Southern Cal, you get to win there 31-24. I was very disappointed in Oregon. Now, just like with every other team, I'm not holding anything that happened last year against any teams for 2021. I know it was strange. I know nobody had an off season. The recruiting was weird. There was no spring practices. The Pac-12 in particular actually basically canceled the season at one point and then decided to, we'll play, but we'll start late. And then you had a weird 6-game schedule. There just was a lot going on. If you're somebody that's looking to make excuses for a team from last year, there are plenty out there to make, and they are legitimate. They are legitimate excuses. But to me, a very disappointing season for Oregon in 2020. They had Stanford at home, at Washington, at Oregon State, and at Cal. So you played, 5 regular season games, 2 at home, 3 on the road. Then you played a neutral site game against Southern Cal and won, a neutral site game against Iowa State and lost. All right, let's take a look at the 2021 schedule now. And is it more difficult? Is it easier? Well, again, it's going to be hard to compare and contrast because the schedules are so different from last year to this year. But here we go. Here's the 2021 schedule. All right, there you go. Take a look. We're going to go through it game by game here in just a second. But let me just remind you, this is not a prediction video. I do an entire series of prediction videos every summer. Those start in June. I go through about 50 or 60 teams, and I give you not only a win-loss record, but I tell you which games I think a team will win and which games I think a team will lose. This is not that video. We're just here to look at the schedule and try to determine, how difficult of a schedule is it compared to a normal Oregon schedule. So you're going to see a full Pac-12 schedule here, which includes 9 conference games and 3 non-conference games. Here we go. You kick things off week 1, September 4th at home against Fresno State. Fresno State's not a pushover as far as a group of 5 team goes. They're one of the better West Coast group of 5 teams year in and year out. They're no Oregon, though. This is a game I expect Oregon to come out and dominate this game from start to finish. Now, if this was last year and that didn't happen, that's one of the things why I was so disappointed last year. You didn't see just a dominant performance from Oregon, and I do think they're capable of doing that. We'll find out week 1 when they host Fresno State. And then one of the biggest non-con games of the season, and you got a lot of big ones this year. This one's right up there on the list. You travel to Columbus, Ohio to take on the Ohio State Buckeyes. This was supposed to be the second end of a home and home. They were supposed to play at your place last year. Of course, that didn't happen with all the conferences canceling the majority of non-conference games. So you travel there this year, week 2. They'll be a top 5 team, no doubt about it, unless for some reason they lose week 1, which, spoiler alert, they're not. So they'll be a top 5 team when you play them. I think Oregon is probably a borderline top 10 team heading into the preseason. I think they're definitely a top 15 team. Again, I'll do some rankings videos too. Once the spring games wrap up, I'll do another top 25 ranking video. But that's going to be a great game. A lot of people are looking forward to seeing that one. Going to be a tough one for Oregon to win on the road there. We'll see how they can do. You come back home and play your last non-con game against something called the Stony Brook Sea Wolves. If there's any reason you don't win that game 100-0, you might as well quit playing after week 3. All right, then you kick off your Pac-12 schedule at home against the Arizona Wildcats. One of the worst teams in the Power 5 last year, without question, cost Kevin Sumlin his job. He's gone. I'm not expecting much from Arizona this year. You would think Oregon would be starting their Pac-12 season off 1-0. Then you go on the road at Stanford. When is Stanford going to get back to going 10-2 every year and threatening to make a New Year's 6 bowl game? Never a playoff contender, really. But typically, they're sort of, they reminded me of Wisconsin for a long time. They're going to win 10 games, probably not going to win their conference. Or well-coached team. Hasn't been the case lately. It's been a weird 2 or 3 years, really, for Stanford, not just last year. First road game in the Pac-12 at Stanford. Then you get your bye week. Bye week comes at a pretty good time, I guess. It's about halfway through your season. You play 5 games, bye week, and then you got 7 games, so I guess that's okay. Maybe you'd like to have your bye week before one of your more difficult games, but nevertheless, it falls on October 9th. You come out of your bye week, another home game against the Cal Golden Bears. up and down team. The defense has been good at times. Their offense has been good at times. They've had a hard time putting it together over the course of a season. They're definitely not the most talented team in the Pac-12. They're nowhere near as talented as Oregon. We'll see how this game plays out, though. You get them at home. And you go on the road and play at UCLA, another team that, people forget they have a team sometimes. Chip Kelly out there. Why? No one knows. He's done nothing really since he got there. High expectations after what he did at Oregon a million years ago. Hasn't worked out so far at UCLA. We'll see how he looks here. What is this, year 3 or 4 now for Chip Kelly? Then you come home, take on Colorado. Again, a team with a relatively new coaching staff. Year 2 out there for those coaches, I believe. Last year really didn't count, though. No offseason. A team, again, that you are infinitely more talented than. On the road at Washington, the rivalry game for Oregon every year. Well, Oregon State, I know is a rivalry game too, but Oregon State hasn't been very good the last 20 years, whereas Oregon and Washington have both been pretty decent teams. It's developed into a pretty good rivalry. That's the game that got canceled last year. You got to go on the road, play them there this year. That'll be a good game, and in my opinion, that'll be a game that determines the Pac-12 North. I think Oregon and Washington are clearly the 2 best teams in the Pac-12 North, and I don't really think there's anybody else that's close. That'll be a game you'll want to see. Then you come back home and play Washington State. Again, you're so much more talented than them. It's ridiculous. There is no reason Oregon should be losing these types of games. On the road at Utah. Utah, really, really good 2 years ago. Not so much last year. We'll see how it goes this year for the Utes. I don't know. No one knows. And then your final home game of the regular season, in-state rival, Oregon State. Pac-12 championship game, of course, on Friday, December 3rd. I do think either Oregon or Washington ends up there. Pac-12 desperately needs a team to be in playoff contention at the end of the year. Playoffs have been around, 7, 8, 9 years, something like that now, since 2014. They've been around. The Pac-12 has made the playoffs a grand total of 2 times. Hasn't been a good run for the Pac-12 lately. Really, since Southern Cal in the mid-2000s, the Pac-12 has not had a dominant team. Oregon's had several good teams. Washington has had several good teams. Utah's had a couple of good teams. Even Stanford, back with Andrew Luck 11, 12 years ago, had some pretty good teams. No one really has threatened to make a playoff or win a national title out there since Southern Cal in the mid-2000s. Oregon did have a couple of good seasons. I can give them a little bit of credit there. I think they did play in a national title game. Got beat by the Barn, I think. Was it the Barn or LSU? Doesn't matter. One of them beat you. You can't beat a ranked SEC team, can you, Oregon, man? No, you can't. I don't know whose fault that is. Just know that it's not my fault. Anyway, there you go. That's Oregon's schedule. Clearly a more difficult schedule than last year. Normally, I would compare this year's away games to last year's, this year's non-con games to last year's. But, I mean, come on. These 4, 5, and 6 game schedules from last year with no non-con, you can't compare and contrast anything. You obviously have one of the most difficult non-con schedules you've had in a while. I know you played Auburn a couple of years ago in a tight game. Playing Auburn in a neutral site game, not nearly the same as playing at Ohio State. It's just not. Fresno State, one of the better group of 5 teams on the West Coast. I wouldn't necessarily classify that game as a gimme, although it's definitely one I expect Oregon to win. Stony Brook, me and the first 10 people to thumbs up this video could beat Stony Brook. Not worried about that. Road games at Stanford, at UCLA, at Washington, and at Utah. Some good news there. You avoid any back-to-back road games, which we sometimes see in college football can create problems for teams. You see a lot of teams lose the second leg of back-to-back road games. You don't have any back-to-back road games. That's good news for you. As far as the road games you do have in the Pac-12, at Stanford, winnable. At UCLA, winnable. At Washington, toss-up, I would say right now at this point. At Utah, I think is winnable as well. So I think 3 of your 4 road games, you're clearly better than 3 of the 4 teams. Washington, we'll see. I think you're more talented than Washington, and the recruiting classes bear that out. Are you a better team right now than Washington? That remains to be seen, and we'll find that out on Saturday, November 6th. There you go. Let me know what you think down below. If you want to go ahead and take a guess at what Oregon's record might be in 2021, let me know. Let me know down there, too. Give me a percentage. What chance does the Pac-12, forget what team, maybe it's Washington, maybe it's Oregon, maybe Southern Cal put something together, Arizona State may be good this year, Utah, Stanford, you tell me, forget the team. Just what are the chances any team from the Pac-12 makes the playoffs in 2021? Let me know down below, and have a good morning.